We are an all-in-one event platform for in-person, virtual, and hybrid events. We work with companies of all shapes and sizes, from small nonprofit organizations all the way up to large enterprise and Fortune 500 companies. And basically what you can do on our platform, you're able to host all of your events on one singular platform throughout the year.
Welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nuske. Hope you're doing wonderfully well. It's always great to be in front of you as your host. And thank you for all of the support over the years. In fact, this year in itself is going by really, really quickly. Had so many great guests on the show. And on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming the Director of Marketing at Event Cadence, Hailey Ingraham. Welcome to the show, Hailey.
Thanks for having me, Rick. I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely. A pleasure to have you here. Now, you and I are going to be talking about the value of using event platforms, how an online year-round event platform improves visibility, impact, and success for organizations, and how tapping into the power of networking builds meaningful connections at professional events. Now, there is certainly a lot for us to talk about, and we are going to explore all of those topics. But first and foremost, we're going to talk about you. Where are you calling in from today?
So I am calling in from Philadelphia.
Beautiful. Is that home, or do you travel there for work?
This is home. I grew up about 30 minutes outside in the suburbs, traveled a few different places during my early 20s, and then settled back in the city of Philadelphia.
What do you love about the place the most? I learned so much. So many people that join us on the show don't know much about these places. Tell us something that you love about it.
Absolutely. So Philly often gets this, I don't know if bad rap is the right way to say it, but it's just almost like a forgotten city because it's so close to New York City.
Right.
And I love New York. It has its pros. But I always like to say Philly's kind of like a smaller, cheaper New York. So a lot of great restaurants, a lot of cool museums. If you like American history, this is where it all started. So there's a lot that our city has to offer, no doubt.
You know what? It's funny because every time I think about places like New York, I think, concrete jungle, but it's actually not the fact. I mean, you drive 10, 20 minutes out and you're in the wilderness. Is that the same for Philly?
Absolutely. So many different suburbs. There's some great mountains nearby as well.
Beautiful.
So yeah, lots of green space. And even in the city itself, I mean, similar to New York with Central Park, we have a lot of great parks as well. And we're situated in between two different rivers, the Delaware River and the Schuylkill River. So there's a lot of great paths along the both of those. So lots of fun things to do.
So when you're not doing your role at Event Cadence, what do you like to do with yourself? Do you have any hobbies? Are you into sports? What do you think?
Well, I would say one of my biggest hobbies is trying new restaurants. I'm quite the foodie.
I love it.
So the great thing about Philadelphia is we get a lot of great chefs here because a lot of chefs go and cut their teeth in New York City and then they want to open their own place. So we have a lot of, James Beard award-winning chefs and a lot of interesting concepts come through Philly. So trying new restaurants with my boyfriend is definitely how I like spending my weekend.
I love it. I'm already getting hungry thinking about all these wonderful opportunities to go try new things. Now, tell me, when you were growing up, I always love to talk about our childhood and, because it often has an impact on the person we could become today. Tell us a little bit about growing up.
Sure. So by all accounts, I had a really fortunate upbringing. Grew up about 35 minutes outside of Philadelphia. I was just always really encouraged to follow the path that my heart was set on. I initially thought I was going to go down the route of broadcast journalism, and I had a really great high school program that my parents encouraged me to be a part of, and my school was really amazing to have and to let me build and grow. And I just felt like I would always go down new paths and try to learn new things. So it was a really nice upbringing. I can't complain too much.
Excellent. Now, in all of that, you often meet people along the way that I guess have that sort of influence over you. You've touched on your parents having their bit to contribute, but who else in your life has helped you, make the twists and turns towards your role now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think certainly in my childhood, I have a great aunt, Betty,
Love it.
and she's my mom's aunt, and she is now 97 years old, still kicking, still sharp as a tack.
I bet.
Just one of those people that doesn't stop. And when my mom was working growing up, and my father as well, she was the one that looked after me. And I like to say she was one of those initial women trying to break that glass ceiling. She ended up in a big executive position, and then she had a male secretary just to kind of stick it to everyone else.
There you
So
go.
I loved hearing her stories growing up, and as such a curious child, she always answered my questions and encouraged me to learn more and to travel to new places, which I ended up, after graduating college, moving to France for 2 years, which was an incredible experience. So I definitely attribute a lot of that to her.
Great feedback. Thank you so very much. Now, I know it seems to me at least that you have an element of discipline in your life. Do you have a daily routine that you follow religiously? Are you an early riser? Do you exercise? Tell us a little bit about the start of your day.
Sure. It definitely depends on the time of year. Daylight savings always throws me a bit for a loop.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say, for the most part, an early riser. I think my best focus hours are those first couple hours of the day. I have a dog as well, so you kind of have to, wake up, get the dog out, and then I feel like those hours between 6:30 to 9:30 are where I get my best work done.
Yep.
I'm also really fortunate to work for a company that has flexible hours. So sometimes in the afternoon, I'll get that afternoon slump, and I go to the gym during those hours. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I know morning routines, there are a lot of popular buzzwords out there, but I think everybody is different, and just figuring out what works for you.
Yep.
I found that's what works for me.
Yeah,
I
great
don't
feedback.
know.
Thank you. So, I love pets. As soon as you said you had a dog, I thought we have to go back over to this one. What sort of dog is it?
So I have a Maltipoo, so it's a mix between a
Maltese
Maltese
Shih
and a
Tzu?
toy poodle.
Oh, I love it.
He's adorable. He's 10 pounds, and he's the sweetest. I don't know. I always say, we did a lot to train him in the beginning, but a lot of it is sometimes you just get lucky. And he's just one of those dogs that loves every human, every baby, every other dog, easygoing.
The one you
So,
need.
yeah,
So
best.
now tell me, when you do get some time to relax, and we're not talking foodie and socializing here, I'm talking about just, having a movie. Do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, yes. I would say my favorite movie is The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, there
Have you
you
ever
go.
seen it?
Yeah, classic.
Classic. It's a good one. I probably watch it at least a couple times a year. Just the energy of, well, again, back to that journalism background, thinking about the fashion magazines back in the day, that energy. And of course, you can't beat the fashion in that movie.
No, of course
It's
not.
a good one.
Now, just for the sake of context, Hailey, tell me a little bit about, I guess, your educational background and your experiences leading up to where you are now.
Sure. So I went to the University of South Carolina for broadcast journalism, as
Mhm.
aforementioned. Had a really great time in Columbia, a great place to grow and learn and be on, my own for the first time for all intents and purposes. So
Yep.
started there. Then I had an experience for a semester studying abroad, which then led me on that path to move to France once graduating. Because as I was nearing graduation, I kind of just started to look around, look at my career path. Broadcast journalism and journalism in general. I'm so grateful for everyone that goes down that path, but it's not an easy one. You work every Christmas, 2 a.m, standing in the rainstorms and all of that. And I just wanted something different. So
You went and got it.
I put all that to the side. I started teaching English in France, which was a lot of fun. I was able to travel and got into a content side, learned how to make content, edit videos, write blogs, things along that nature. And then the good old COVID happened,
Oh.
which
You can't have a
I-
conversation
yeah.
without talking about COVID, can we?
No, certainly not. And I hate to bring it up, but it really was such a turning point. I think for the better in my life ultimately, but certainly took me down a way opposite path than what I had initially anticipated. And that's what brought me to Event Cadence.
Yeah,
so
fantastic feedback. I'm loving this. This is why it lights me up when I start talking about people's background, because you get to see the people behind the business, which I think in a contextual format is very important, because business is business, but the people running it are always very different. So thank you very much. Now, tell us a little bit about, I guess, the cultural shock, if you like, or the differences that you would have had, as an English teacher in France. What was that like? Are there commonalities between peoples?
Yes. So I certainly learned a lot. So it's funny when you say that you live in France, everyone's first inclination is, oh, you're in Paris and what an amazing city. And I love Paris. It is my favorite city, but I was actually 2 hours outside of Paris in a small itty bitty baby town called Saint-Dizier, which most people don't really know of. Maybe the closest city someone might know is Épernay, which is in the Champagne region. So it was just really interesting to see how different people live. And it was in a town of a lot of immigrants as well. So I was able to really meet all different types of people with all different types of backgrounds. And culturally, there are a lot of differences. But what you really find at the end of the day is we're all just looking for the same things in life. Little things are different here and there, but humans are humans. And ultimately, I think we all mostly want the same.
Right. Yeah, that's great feedback. Now, tell me, given that you've been well travelled thus far, I'm always looking for new travel locations. What's your bucket list look like?
Ooh, bucket list of places I want to go?
Yes.
So I've never done any of Asia. So I feel like that's my next big mountain I want to climb. I'd love to go over to Japan and Thailand and Singapore and all of those places over there. But I want to throw that back to you. What's on your bucket list?
Oh, look, having recently gotten back from Singapore, Malaysia, there's certainly hit list for you. And Mauritius we did last year. The States prior to that. Goodness me, Indonesia a year before that also. It's very hard to tell. I'd like to actually go to China, to be quite frank with you. It's part of the world now where, they're so dominant. I would just love to see how they operate, because they're very different in that regard, I think.
Absolutely. And that's something fortunate about working with Event Cadence. I do get the opportunity to travel, not as much as you, it doesn't sound, but a couple times a year. I was just in Amsterdam for an industry trade show. And I basically say, wherever you want to send me, I'm a yes.
I'm a go.
Why not, right?
No, well, look, you have to be a part of the team. You're either part of the solution, you're on the bus, or you're not. And that's certainly sounds like you are. Now, given that we've talked a lot about Event Cadence, I think it's time for us to introduce Event Cadence formally. Tell us about Event Cadence. What do you do there?
Absolutely. So we are an all-in-one event platform for in-person, virtual, and hybrid events. So we work with companies of all shapes and sizes, from small nonprofit organizations all the way up to large enterprise and Fortune 500 companies. And basically what you can do on our platform, which is we have a mobile version, so an event app, or as a desktop version as well. And you're able to host all of your events on one singular platform throughout the year.
Wow, that's great. Now tell me, how important is it to have an online presence nowadays?
From a marketing perspective, coming from my background as director of marketing,
yep,
an online presence is paramount. People are always looking for answers, and as a business in any capacity, as an event company, your podcast, anyone, having an online presence is number one.
Number one. Yeah, great feedback. Now, who is Event Cadence serving? Are they just locally, or businesses worldwide?
Yes, so we serve businesses of all shapes and sizes, like I said. So let me give an example, and then maybe we can dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
So our largest sector of customers is in the healthcare, pharmaceutical, and life sciences industry. So they use our unique technology solutions to help them plan their medical congresses, they're called, which is really just a fancy word for conference. So they have these medical conferences throughout the year in all different locations where they're trying to meet with doctors and professors and industry leaders to get some of the latest research on things like, the latest study in oncology or rare blood diseases. So all different types of meetings are happening, and they use our platform to help schedule those meetings. So that's, one side of the business. Then we also have a lot of large universities using our platform to plan their events. So all of their, attendees joining maybe for their spring orientation or an event for alumni, they're able to connect on our platform and use our technology to plan their events.
When you meet a new client for the first time, we might know that it's easy to use, but do you have some sort of a process to see if it's a good fit for them, but also do you help them with the onboarding process as well?
Yes, absolutely. So what I like to explain is that it is easy to use. We built it to be intuitive. So if you have any experience in any type of technology or web building, or even if you're a novice, our platform can really be as simple or as complicated as you want. So for example, for an event, some features that are important is, the schedule. You need people to know where to go, at what time, in what room, maybe some of the resources that they need, like presentations or PDFs, videos, anything along those lines, surveys. So it's really as simple or as complicated as you want. So you can just, press the plus button, add in your schedule, or like I was explaining with those pharmaceutical companies who use our platform to schedule meetings, those can get really intricate. So that's what I like to say. We can, start at the bottom and scale all the way up depending on the organization's need or the event need.
See, what I love about the platform, having looked thoroughly over your website, is the one-stop shop approach. That's a really fantastic feature in and of itself for me. Is it pre-recorded or is this actually live streaming? I don't know the difference.
Sure. So we offer both so typically the streaming is for our virtual events.
Right.
So we have a feature called Symphony in which you can pre-record your sessions, which I have to say is usually a little bit easier, right? Pre-recording this podcast, it leaves, more room for error. Or you can live stream directly into the platform as well if you want more of that live experience. So you can have things like question and answer, audience participation. You can absolutely stream right into the platform.
See, this ties nicely back into my question about whether or not a business should have an online presence, because I think if they're doing this regularly, that's giving them that platform. Event Cadence is the platform for that online experience now. It seems to me that through repetition and consistency for businesses being online using Event Cadence, that would help improve the visibility, their impact and success. Would that be fair?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'll just add to that an online presence is important, but also having events is a really popular and really effective way to outreach to your audience. So, promoting a live webinar or even an in-person experience for your audience, for your potential customers, it's a really effective way of community building and, getting people to talk about your product or your services.
Yeah, because it would seem to me that it would be almost like a lead generation machine of sorts when, initially you might have a conference or whatever you called it before, where you get businesses meeting with each other that don't know each other that well, and then go take it from the online space to an offline sort of meeting. Is that the sort of community and network building that goes on?
Yes, absolutely. So you can use one of the main features of our platform is the networking feature. So we are really the online experience or the app experience for your attendees. So if your podcast, let's say, was having a conference and it was open to the public, you're now promoting this out. You're promoting our registration page so people can sign up for the conference. And then once the conference begins, or the live stream, the in-person event, however you choose to format that, everyone is inside of the Cadence platform. They all have their own profile where they can tag things like their topics of interest, like what we talked about earlier today, maybe, cold showers, or I'm an early morning riser, or whatever people are interested in.
Yep.
You can tag those right to your profile. And then people are able to see the other people attending the event. They can connect with one another through the messaging channel, through the live feed, which is kind of like a social media live feed. So people can get hyped up for the podcast that's about to happen in front of them. So there are a lot of great networking features once you get those attendees into the platform, for sure.
Given that you would have had your hands all over this software for a while, I know that you probably love the entire platform, but is there one feature that really sticks out for you?
Yes. So a favorite feature, it's so hard. I think what I'd love to, I'll dive deeper. I actually did just mention it, but it is that topics of interest feature,
Yep.
especially if networking is an important part of your event that you're hosting. Because similar to why I imagine you start this podcast with questions about me and my life, is people want to connect with one another. And the best way to do that is to find something that you share in common. We both were talking about, our mouth is watering from these new restaurants. I can, tag my profile. I'm a foodie. And then I see that Rick's a foodie. And I'm able to say, hey, after the session today, do you want to go check out this Michelin star restaurant? Who knows, right?
Absolutely.
But it's a good way to connect with one another.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm very excited about Event Cadence. As I said, I looked over the platform and there's just so many, it's feature packed is probably the best way to say it. Now, we always, as businesses, look at our corporate social responsibility, or CSR. Tell us a little bit about that and why it's important for those who may not know.
Yeah, so corporate social responsibility, I feel like, is really at the forefront of a lot of people's minds these days, and for good reason. Ours, the reason that I think Event Cadence can really play into that is due to, well, back in the day, maybe 10 years or so, maybe even 5. If you were to go to an event, they hand you a big packet of information. Here you go. This is what, we're doing for the next 4 days. Every meeting room has a sign-in sheet to say, okay, I was in conference room A at this time. Everything was done with paper, and it's just not sustainable. So when you have everything on one app in one place for your attendees, it just really cuts down on the need for all of that waste at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely. It certainly is a big topic, and it's been, like you say, around with us for many years now. It's not a new thing, and the fact that you're putting it at the forefront of your business is a real credit to you. Now, what are some of the strategies that businesses can use with Event Cadence in terms of online year-round events? It seems like a lot of work.
Yes. So the thing is, a lot of these corporations or organizations that we work with, they actually have a lot of events already built in throughout the year. Maybe the beginning of the year, they have a company POA, a sales kickoff, something along these lines. Maybe Q2, they have a new product launch that they're trying to get their employees, trained on. Towards the end of the year, you have that, holiday party, or maybe, sales incentive trips. There are so many events built in throughout the year for organizations that they have for internal events. So the great thing about Event Cadence is that you can host it all in one place. So let's say you, Rick, you didn't start at the organization until April.
Yeah.
And you already missed the kickoff for the year and the product launch and all of those other, small events that they've already hosted. What's great is that you have all of that information in one place now. So we're able to add you, Rick, as an attendee to some of these past events. And we're going to say to you, okay, click through the schedule, watch all the session replays, access the materials, see all of the things that you missed. So it really extends the life of your event. And also, as an attendee, you forget things, right? You want to go back and experience that again, or access that TED Talk that someone was talking about at the event 6 months ago. So by having this year-round platform where you can jump in and out of events at different times, it just extends the life of all of your events.
See, it's now becoming clear to me that it's almost like a training tool. It can be an induction tool retrospectively or even initially, but it also, given that you've touched on the fact that it has documents available inside of it, could also be considered somewhat of an intranet. Would that be fair?
Yes. So it's the blessing and curse of our company, I have to be honest. We can do so many different things, and we've seen so many different use cases of the platform. Like you said, we're feature heavy. There's no doubt. And everything's customizable too, right? So if you have that simple, straightforward, maybe sales incentive trip to Dubai or whatever it is, you can just have the schedule, people's travel plans. Or on the other side, like you said, maybe it's a workshop or a training and you need to test people at the end. You can use our surveys for that. So really depending on it, we service all different types of events. It just depends on, what the company needs.
Now, given that we touched on COVID and all these other things, are you seeing an uptick in, this corporate responsibility side where business owners are going, it's just absolutely mental to, get on a plane and travel all this way when we can do this online? Because I see that as a very attractive feature of Event Cadence.
Absolutely. So it's funny because I started at Event Cadence in 2020, which was a very unique time to start in the event industry because, overnight everything got flipped on its head. No one was going anywhere. No one was traveling. And so that's essentially what we saw, right? Everyone, all the offices, everyone went remote. We did what we had to do during that time. And there certainly is still a through line of that for some of these organizations that we're working with.
Yeah.
But what I like to say and point out is it always depends on the purpose of the event or of the meeting. So like you said, to fly someone 12 hours for a 3-hour meeting to then fly home, do we need to spend that time? Do we need to spend that money, the energy, all of that? Probably not. Now, there are some events, though, that really just, as much as people forecasted that virtual events would completely replace in-person events, it just doesn't. That inexplicable thing that happens when you're sharing the same experience in a full room of people around you, it just can't be fixed, with a virtual event. That's why people are going to concerts or whatever the event is. There is something that happens when people are together. So
yep.
I like to recommend if it is, a company kickoff, for example, and you want to get your team hyped up about what's happening for the year, it's always better to do it in person, but there is certainly, the use case for both sides, no doubt about that.
Business owners are typically looking to increase productivity, save time, generate revenue, all of these great buzzwords that we talk about often in business. Now, it begs the question, what's a typical setup time for an organization looking to use Event Cadence?
Sure. It's a great question. And again, it depends.
It depends. I figured you'd say that.
Yeah. Simple events, you can get started and, you can build an event in a week on our platform. More complex events, we really recommend, especially if it's your first event in our platform, around 6 to 8 weeks. But, for some of our larger pharmaceutical customers, for those medical congresses, that takes months, right? Because there's a lot that goes into it. So just depends.
Oh, loving this call. So much great information. And information I couldn't have access unless I was speaking to somebody at the head of the ship. Now, tell me a little bit about mobile versus desktop. Obviously, there's a lot more real estate on a desktop to navigate your website version as opposed to the app. Is the app cluttered or is it quite simplified?
So we got some really good designers here at Event Cadence. Everything's optimized for mobile. So we actually started primarily as a mobile app. And then when things went virtual in 2020, we really took the time to build out the desktop version. And now we really see some hybrid of both. So the event app itself is still, image based. It's still beautiful. There's a lot of opportunities for branding.
Yep.
But yes, the screen real estate is smaller, but the features are about the same. And really the difference is in why it works in both use cases. The mobile app is primarily used for in-person events where the show is in front of your eyes in the room that you're in, right? You're not just looking down here, whereas the virtual event, that's when you need that screen real estate because that's the show. That's what people are looking at. So both work for their own respective use cases, but they are interchangeable too. So you can have people on the mobile app and the desktop version at the same time. They're connected all as one.
We have a lot of business owners be on this call today going, you know what, I need to learn more about Event Cadence. In a short while, Hailey will talk about how to make contact with you. But tell us a little bit about, we've touched on a lot of the features, but you've got some services as well. You've got the Event Concierge, Congress Concierge, and on-site logistics. Tell us about those things.
Absolutely. So like I said, we're your one-stop shop all in one. So you can build it yourself. You can be completely self-sufficient. We have organizations that do everything on their own. They have their own employees running the app for the event itself, all the way up to completely white glove services. So if you're hearing some of these features, they sound interesting, but you're saying to me, Hailey, we just don't have an extra person at our company that could possibly set this all up for us. That's where our services team comes in handy. So that Cadence Concierge that you were reading about, that's full white glove service. So in about 6 to 8 weeks, our team meets with you once a week, finding out your event goals, what features you're looking to build, some of your branding guidelines. And we upload it all in there for you. And then if you want to go even one step further, we have people that can travel to the event wherever you're having it or as virtual support. And they're able to help you with things like check-ins and, posting live surveys during the event. So we really are end-to-end with whatever you need. We have someone on our team that can certainly help.
Very, very exciting. Now, given that you have some major brands involved, just some of the ones I saw, I think were Hootsuite, Zendesk, Harvard, major players. Now, there would be obviously others that you've mentioned in other sectors that are concerned about security. Tell us a little bit about your focus on security.
Security is paramount. Like you said, we have large organizations and it's the most important thing to them, right? I'll jump on sales calls and it's the first question. I completely understand. Why waste anyone's time if it's not going to pass their security checks, right? So we are ISO certified as well as a number of other security certifications.
I struggle with that too.
Certifications. We have, all of those different features that you need. We also can, data is a really hot topic right now. We can certainly wipe data after events if that's something that you need done. So security, if you have more questions, I can also send you a direct link. Maybe you could post it in the show notes that goes into all of our different security measures.
Thank you for the feedback, Hailey. Now, for those who are wondering what that certification is, I think it's from a certification body called Align. We'll be making sure that you can get access to this sort of information after the call. Now, importantly, I'm always interested about, the sum of the parts, because an organization like Event Cadence can't serve their customer and the client base without a great team. Tell us a little bit about the team at Event Cadence.
Absolutely. So I like to think there were a lot of event platforms that have popped up over the years, but what keeps us going and keeps our company moving is no doubt the team. We are a small but mighty startup that has grown considerably over the last couple of years, but we are here because we care. When people are working with you on your event, it's a human connection. We lead with our team, and we don't want you to feel like you're just talking to the abyss. We listen to our customers. We have our development in-house. So if there's a feature that you need, we're open to it. We love exploring new ideas and solutions for our customers. So having the ability to be able to move internally with our team, I think, is what sets us apart from some of the other solutions out there. It's all attributed to our team, no doubt.
So if somebody wants to have a look at Event Cadence before committing, is there some way to do that?
Absolutely. So the best way is to start on our website, click one of those get in touch buttons. That will probably connect you right with me, maybe one of my team members, but a lot of times me. And, I can send you a pre-recorded demo of the platform if you'd like to do it on your own time. Happy to take you through the platform myself. And then we also create sandboxes. So you just want to click around, see an event for yourself. I'm always happy to add anyone to one of those. So definitely just reach out on the website and we can take it from there.
So with all that being said, I know that to be a lot of very interested, excited people wanting to learn more. Where are they going to connect with you, Hailey? What's the website?
Absolutely. EventCadence.com. Cadence is with an E, not an A. Sometimes people spell cadence. So Event Cadence. Also on all social media networks, LinkedIn, Instagram, X. I always like to say Twitter, but it's X. DM on any of those places. We're always happy to talk and chat solutions.
Well, there you are, everybody. If you're on this call today and you're interested in what we've talked about with Event Cadence, I'll be providing the link below this call. Again, as always, no matter where you find the call, you're going to be able to find that one-click link through to Hailey and her wonderful team. And with that being said, Hailey, great call. Thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Rick. I really appreciate it.